Welcome to Mary Potter Podcast, your weekly magical probe into the wild tales of the wizarding world of flash fiction.
Oh, I love that.
Right.
Magical probe. That's great.
Yeah, so today you've sent us two fascinating stories
Okay.
that really explore like the fabric of reality and time itself.
Wow.
We're diving into the Ghostwriters Guild and Alexander's Arcanum,
Okay.
two tales that, while like vastly different in setting, both grapple with characters who discover extraordinary power
Right.
within like seemingly ordinary things, so words and ambition.
Interesting.
Yeah, you were curious about stories that blend the mundane with the magical, and these definitely deliver some aha moments.
Definitely.
So let's unpack this a little.
It's really fascinating how both of these flash fiction stories, which seem so different, at first glance, really touch on this like core human fascination with the idea that the extraordinary could just come out of everyday life.
Total.
Like whether it's writing a story or the drive to conquer, these narratives explore that point where the normal world bumps into something magical.
Yeah,
And the results are huge.
they're huge.
Really profound.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So let's start with the flash fiction story, the Ghostwriters Guild.
Okay.
Specifically, the piece called Pen and Peril.
Sounds dangerous.
It does sound dangerous.
Yes.
This introduces us to Alex, who's just a regular teenager, using fantasy writing as an escape.
Right?
I think a lot of us can connect with that, like creating these worlds in our minds
Yeah, definitely.
to get away from the day-to-day.
For sure.
But then something crazy happens.
What's that?
A dragon from his story
Oh my gosh.
materializes in his bedroom.
Whoa, hold on.
Can you imagine?
That's insane. A dragon.
A dragon! Like, how would you even...
I don't even know.
This leads to him discovering the Ghostwriters Guild,
Okay.
a secret society of authors who use magic
Wow.
to make their creations real.
So they're like bringing their stories to life.
Yes, and they're subtly like influencing reality as we know it.
That's a lot of power.
It is a lot of power.
Yeah.
You sent us this story because you're interested in the power of storytelling and how imagination can blur the lines with reality.
Right.
This story takes it to a whole other level.
Absolutely it does.
For sure.
And the fact that the dragon just appears like that, so
From
suddenly
out of nowhere.
really throws you into the middle of this hidden world.
Yeah.
It's a very vivid way
Mhm.
to show the influence that stories have on how we see things
Yes.
and what we believe.
Totally. So true.
And what's interesting is that direct connection
Yeah, Gus.
between creation and a change in reality.
Cause and effect, boom.
Exactly.
So then the flash fiction story quickly escalates.
Okay.
Alex is rescued by Anya, a member of the guild,
Okay.
who tells him about their ancient history and the existence of a rival group called the Scriveners,
The Scriveners
whose goal is to control the world
control the world.
by rewriting reality to fit their desires.
Oh, no, that's...
And get this,
Right.
Alex is accidental dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Drawing the Scriveners' attention.
Oh, gosh. So
No.
it's like his fault they're coming.
Yeah. It's kind of his fault.
That's a lot of pressure.
It's like finding out your hobby has cosmic consequences.
Yikes.
Right.
So you've got this like classic conflict, right? You've got responsible use of power
Mm-hmm.
versus the temptation to use it for like total control.
Right?
The guild seems to represent a more like careful way of using this creative power,
Yeah.
whereas the Scriveners are like, let's just grab it and control everything.
Yes.
It makes you think about like responsibility
Yeah.
when you have the ability to influence the world.
Right, even through something like stories.
Yeah, exactly.
So we then see Alex's disbelief as he's thrust into this magical reality,
Right.
armed with a containment spell from an old leather-bound book.
A spell book.
Imagine like being handed a spell book
I can't even imagine.
to deal with a dragon you accidentally created.
That's wild.
Right. And then the description of the guild's headquarters,
Okay.
hidden in the local library.
In a library.
A maze of bookshelves buzzing with writers.
That sounds amazing.
It's like a writer's dream,
Right. Or their worst nightmare.
depending on how their characters behave.
Exactly.
Oh, man.
The library is such a perfect setting, though.
It is.
It's like this place full of stories
Right.
and worlds.
Oh, right.
So to have the guild there
Yeah.
really emphasizes that stories aren't just for fun.
Yeah.
They have power.
Yes.
And the image of those writers like scrambling around
Yeah.
trying to deal with this dragon,
Yeah.
it's pretty funny.
It's kind of funny.
Makes it feel a bit more real.
Right. Less serious.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so the first attempt at the containment spell,
Mm-hmm.
it's clumsy, but it partially works.
Okay.
And it leads to this really funny image of a dragon rampaging through the library.
Knocking over bookshelves?
Oh, yeah.
That's a disaster.
Right.
For a book lover.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And Anya says this great line.
Looks like your pen is our mightiest weapon.
Ooh. I like that.
Right. It really sums up the story.
Yeah, it's like saying that simple things.
Yeah.
Pen and paper and imagination have so much power.
They do.
Yeah, it's true. It reminds me of that idea.
What's that?
That ideas expressed through language can really change the world.
They can.
And even that like clumsy first try with the spell shows that there's a learning curve.
Yes.
With magic.
It's not just having the words.
Right.
It's the intention behind them.
Exactly.
So, of course, the containment spell totally fails.
No. Oh.
The stakes are raised.
Oh.
We get this crazy fight involving levitating romance novel.
Romance novel.
I know, right?
So specific.
I know. And then the dragon becomes best friends with the talking cat.
A talking cat, of course.
It's so absurd.
It is, but I kind of love it.
Me too. It keeps it fun.
Yeah, doesn't get too serious.
Right. And then we meet this old woman
interesting.
with ink-stained fingers.
Okay, who offers some wisdom.
Like a mentor.
Yes, highlighting the power of Alex's words and hinting at his future training.
So he's going to learn to control his power.
Yeah, she says something about how even his clumsy attempt was brave.
Interesting.
It's not about being perfect.
Right.
It's about trying.
Yeah, just going for it.
And then the flash fiction story ends.
Okay.
Emphasizing this conflict with the Scriveners.
The Scriveners are still out there.
Oh, yeah, and how we need good stories.
It's like a battle for the fate of reality.
Yes.
That's intense.
It is.
So the old woman is like a classic mentor figure.
Yes.
Saying that natural talent needs work.
Right.
And that even like bad stories can have consequences.
Totally.
It's a big responsibility.
It is.
And the fight against the Scriveners just keeps going.
Yes.
It's like this never-ending battle for the power of stories.
Exactly.
Wow.
Okay, so now let's switch gears completely.
All right.
To the second flash fiction story.
Okay.
Alexander's Arcanum.
I like this title.
Sounds mysterious.
Specifically, The Sands of Forever.
Ooh. The Sands of Forever.
This takes us to a historical fantasy setting, focusing on Alexander the Great.
Oh, wow.
As a military mage.
Alexander the Great, a mage.
Driven by an oracle's prophecy to find an artifact that grants control over time.
Control over time, that's huge.
Right. You mentioned you were drawn to this story's exploration of ambition and the allure of ultimate power.
That's always been fascinating to me.
It's such a contrast to the Ghostwriters Guild.
Yeah, totally different vibes.
Right.
One is about creation and immediate impact.
Yes.
And this one's about ambition.
Yes.
And controlling something as fundamental as time.
Yes.
And using a historical setting makes it even more interesting.
It really does.
Yeah.
So the story depicts Alexander's campaign eastward.
Okay.
Where his armies and war wizards face magical resistance.
Magical resistance.
Like griffins with lightning attacks.
Oh.
Illusion-covered behemoths.
Okay.
And levitating cities.
Now that's just showing off.
I know, right?
Yeah.
It paints a picture of magic and warfare.
Yeah, like rewriting the rules of war.
Exactly, and every victory strengthens Alexander's belief in his destiny.
It's like feeding his ego.
Right, and the oracle's prophecy just keeps pushing him forward.
So these descriptions of magical warfare, they really create a world that's so different from what we know.
Totally.
And the resistance he faces shows how hard it is to conquer in a world like that.
It does.
And yet he keeps winning.
He keeps winning.
Making him believe he's destined for greatness.
Right.
It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
It is.
Yeah.
But then there's a turning point.
Okay.
The Whispering Desert.
The Whispering Desert.
It defies his power.
Really?
His military might, his magic, everything.
Wow.
It's described as groaning with the echoes of forgotten empires.
That's eerie.
Right. And his scouts vanish.
Oh, no.
Leaving behind only maddened whispers.
That's creepy.
And even his mage's spells fail.
So even magic doesn't work there.
Nothing works.
It's like nature is saying no.
Yeah, like a wall he can't break through.
Interesting.
Right.
So the Whispering Desert is like a symbol of the limits of power.
Right.
Even when you're Alexander the Great.
Alexander the Great.
With an army and mages.
It doesn't matter.
Oh.
And the echoes of those empires, it's a reminder that even the greatest ambitions, they fade.
They don't last forever.
Nothing lasts forever.
Right.
Okay, so Alexander gets more and more frustrated.
Of course.
He's obsessed.
He has to win.
He has to conquer it all.
Right.
He pushes deeper into the desert.
Oh, that's not good.
And then he encounters this huge sandstorm.
Oh, man.
But it's not just a storm.
What is it?
It's like raw time itself.
Whoa, hold on.
Forcing him to see the destructive nature of ambition.
So it's like a physical manifestation of time.
Yes.
Wow, that's a cool concept.
Right.
It's not just an obstacle.
Right.
It's like he's facing the thing he wants to control.
Oh, exactly. And it breaks him.
Breaks him.
He's alone.
Yeah.
Defeated.
And what happens?
He changes how?
He realizes that true power might be self-control.
Ooh, that's a good lesson.
His mages find him
Yeah.
using a subtle grounding spell.
Interesting.
Like he's learned a new way to use magic.
Yeah. It's like he's gone from trying to control the world to controlling himself.
Yes.
That's a big shift.
It's huge.
And that grounding spell, it's like a symbol of that change.
Right.
He's not about big flashy magic anymore.
Right.
It's more internal now.
And then instead of finding some powerful artifact, he finds a shattered hourglass.
A broken hourglass.
The sands of forever weren't meant to be controlled.
So he failed.
He failed, but he learned something.
What's that?
That maybe using the time he has wisely is more powerful
than trying to control all of time.
Yes.
That's a pretty deep realization.
It is.
Yeah.
And his actions change.
His mages start using time in subtle ways.
Right.
Like speeding up crop growth.
Interesting.
Or slowing down enemies.
Oh, wow.
It's not about brute force anymore.
It's more strategic now.
It's about precision.
So that broken hourglass, it's like the opposite of what he expected.
It is.
But it taught him a valuable lesson.
Yes.
To appreciate the present moment.
Exactly.
Not dwell on the past.
Right.
Or try to control the future.
And the story ends saying that some battles are won by walking away.
By knowing when to quit.
Yeah. Alexander's learned wisdom.
Yeah. He's not just a conqueror anymore.
Right.
He's a leader.
That's a powerful message.
Yeah, it is.
Restraint can be strength.
So he learned more from failing than he would have from winning.
Maybe.
Interesting.
So for you, the listener, what can we take away from these stories?
That's a good question.
They both offer insights into power.
In different ways.
In the Ghostwriters Guild, we see how words and imagination can shape reality.
Yeah.
It makes you think about the stories we tell ourselves.
Right, and the stories we hear.
What worlds are we creating?
It's a lot of responsibility.
It is.
It reminds me.
Of what?
That stories have always had power.
Right.
From ancient myths to today.
Yeah.
They shape how we see the world.
And in Alexander's Arcanum,
right,
he wants to control time. But he learns that self-control is true power. It's a reminder that sometimes the greatest control is controlling yourself.
Not the world around you.
Exactly.
So he went from external power to inner strength.
And wisdom.
Right.
So these tales leave us with a question.
Okay.
If our words can shape reality, what stories are you writing?
What stories are we all telling?
And how are you using your time?
Those are good questions.
Thanks for joining us on Mary Potter Podcast.
This was a great magical probe.
It was. Rate and follow the show for more flash fiction stories.
From the wizarding world.
We'll see you next time.